And we turn to page 40 as we turn to our Song of Freedom, Mi Chamocha. We continue on page 42. I'm sitting here thinking about, I guess I talk about my kids a lot. I was always like, I'm not going to be the rabbi that's always talking about my kids, but,
It's just good material.
It's good. It's great material. And the other day, I was walking with my son, and he noticed a homeless person, and he's 4. And I had to try and explain it to him. And it was sad. And it was also an opportunity for me to suggest to him that we can feel grateful and so much thanks and so much blessing that we have a home, that we have a shelter, that we have a place where we can feel wholeness and peace. And so this is our blessing, where we ask God for shelter in this really chaotic and sometimes unpredictable and scary world. And so we'll sing this blessing.
Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukkot shalom. Shalom Aleinu
page 44, our blessing for Shabbat, another new melody for me, and one that you're all helping me sing actually tonight on some of these. So I would say join with me, but I'll join with you. We turn to page 4.
I love the chuckles that happen at the end of that.
It says page 47 on here, but I'm not seeing it.
It is page before. It's page 45.
Page 45. Eternity utters a day. These beautiful words by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, set to music by Dan Nichols.
Has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world.
Eloheinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot,
U'mevi geula
B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Page 50. Tagivor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atara B'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Meimid Umechayeh, Umat Miach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atal HaChayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Page 52. Shimcha Kadosh, Ukadoshim Bechol Yom Yahalelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We can be seated. So this is fun. I've never gotten to do the simcha thing here, which I really like this part of the service. And I actually loved this part of the service when I was thinking about applying for this job. I watched services and really liked this tradition. So, I will start by sharing a simcha, which is that it's my first time leading services with Cantor Bortnick, and it is so lovely and wonderful to be able to be on the bima with her. And I open it to you to share something joyous that is happening or has happened in your life. Oh, I already see a hand. Tell me.
I went to Great Falls and got my 11th Ranger badge, and in a week I'm going to Chicago for my cousin's bat mitzvah.
Wow. So to sum it up, lots of travel and awards.
Yes.
Great Falls is here.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get there.
I'll take you. It's close to my house. I'll take you.
I shared this week a tour of the newly renovated Jewish worship space at Georgetown University, which should be ready this fall.
Oh,
Beautiful. So
cool.
new Jewish spaces and really taking in the beauty.
Beautiful.
I have a book that's coming out in October, and I just found out it got 2-star reviews this week.
Amazing. So for professional accomplishments, I am excited to hear more about your book at some point. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. This one I'm going to repeat all the way. So went to the Jewish Museum this week and saw actually a beautiful history of this congregation in the museum. Wonderful. Maybe one more? One more? I thought I saw a hand over here.
I'll share one.
Please.
I actually got 4 days alone this week, which
wow.
I say in front of my entire family that's sitting there in the third row. But it was super nice. Although by the end, the cat and I started talking to each other a lot.
Beautiful.
But it was really enjoyable.
So for all of these wonderful things, let's say together, Modim Anachnu Lach. So let's try it. Modim Anachnu Lach. And we will conclude with our blessing. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha Ulecha Na'eh Lehodot. Blessed are you, God, who is worthy of thanksgiving.
And as we turn from our prayer of thanksgiving to our prayer for peace, we join together in Shalom Rav on page 60. Shalom Rav, Yisrael, Tasir.
as I mentioned at the start of the service, we've entered the Hebrew month of Elul, that month that leads us to the High Holy Days. And there's a tradition during the month of Elul to recite Psalm 27 every day. And I want to read a few verses from this beautiful psalm. And they say, "One thing I ask of Adonai, only this do I seek, to live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, to gaze upon Adonai's beauty and to frequent God's temple." And I think when I think about God's house, I think of God's world. And I wonder, what would it feel like for us to be in God's world and to feel connected to each other, to feel connected to something out there larger than ourselves. And so as we take a few moments for silent reflection, I invite you to think about where you find that wholeness and unity in your life. Where do you find those moments of connection? Maybe you call it God, maybe you call it something else. But where do you find that? And for me, one of those ways is through music, and especially a particular setting of words from this psalm that Cantor Bortnick and I will sing after we have a moment for silence. And I hope that maybe it will move you in the way that it moves us. So I think that if we felt this connection to God in the way that this psalm describes, or maybe in the way that this music tries to help us, it would feel like some kind of healing. And so this psalm feels like the perfect way to move into prayers for healing, whether that's healing of the body or healing of the mind, or healing of the spirit, because some of us feel broken. And so I'm going to invite you to share any names of people that you are praying for. I know that many of us are praying for the many, many, many people who have been hurt in Maui, in the fires, and also so much pain in the world. And so as I look around the room, feel free to share their name aloud as my eyes meet yours, and don't worry if more than one person speaks at once, because God hears us all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Page 253.
My husband, Jeff, who you'll hopefully get to meet lots of times, swims a few times a week in our neighborhood swimming pool that is practically in our backyard. I prefer to jog or walk for exercise, except when it's too hot, which is pretty much all the time right now. So a few weeks ago, I told Jeff that I was not enjoying my usual workout routine, and he excitedly said, "Go to the pool." No way, I thought, as I immediately listed out a number of excuses, which I will let you weigh in on, okay? The chlorine, really bad for my curls. Good, right? Yeah. The water is cold. It's actually not. The water irritates my eyes because I wear contacts. Very bad excuse, because we have goggles, so that's a bust. I knew it was time to fess up, and the true reason that I did not want to swim is that I didn't know what I would do while I was swimming. Yes, I understand that the activity here is the swimming. Okay, I understand this. But the problem with swimming is no music, no audiobooks, no podcasts. Yeah. The problem is, I do know there are waterproof headphones because I looked this up as well, but the problem is the quiet. Perhaps some of you are like me, avoiding silence or nothingness by filling it with radio, television stations, conversations, information, or things that feel productive. As we begin the month of Elul, I wonder why so many of us inundate ourselves with noise in a world that is already constantly noisy. What sounds are we drowning out? What are we afraid to hear? Perhaps we are afraid to hear our inner thoughts and feelings. Elul, this final month before the Jewish New Year, urges us to listen to what is happening in our internal world. Every day during the month of Elul, Jews blast the shofar, sounding the alarm for the work of Cheshbon HaNefesh, which literally means an accounting of the soul. It's time to ask ourselves, as Rabbi Ruth Adar translates the phrase, what does my life add up to right now? I know this question sounds heavy. This time of year is heavy, and it's a time that people take very seriously. Rabbi Israel Salanter, who founded the 19th century Musar, or Jewish ethics movement, committed to 40 days of silence, beginning on the first day of Elul and ending on Yom Kippur. And Rabbi Salanter did this every year. He used this time of silence to examine his own speech. I have trouble with 20 minutes of silence in the swimming pool. So this sounds like my worst nightmare, quite honestly. And to be sure, Rabbi Salanter's practice was extreme. And even if we wanted to go on a 40-day silent retreat, would anyone here want to go on a 40-day silent retreat? Okay, no takers here. Most of us could not disappear from the real world for an entire month. Some of us can barely find 5 minutes to tune out the world around us. But I do think this example encourages us to ask ourselves how and when we can find space and time for quiet, especially as we approach Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I know that this is easier said than done. Yesterday, I took a walk while listening to a podcast. Great opportunity for quiet, but I filled it with sound. And I listened to an episode of a podcast which featured Justin Zorn and Lee Mars, who are authors of a book called Golden, The Power of Silence in a World of Noise, which is now on my book list. In the podcast, Lee Mars shares that researchers measure attentional capacity in bits per second, and that 11 million bits of information come into our system every second. And we can only absorb 128 bits at a time. Justin Zorn then jumps into the conversation in this podcast with a study that he learned about that was conducted by researchers at Duke University about how different kinds of noise impact the brains of mice. In this study, scientists played mice noises like white noise, crying mice babies, which I think are called pups. Anyone know if are mice babies pups? No one knows here either. And they played these mice classical music. They found that the sound of complete silence was the only sound that regenerated neurons in the brain. Zorn goes on to say that we don't need an elaborate meditation practice to reap the benefits of silence. There is low-hanging fruit, like cultivating just an appreciation for it and simply noticing when silence emerges and choosing to tune into it. What can we discover when we ignore the 11 million bits of information for even a moment? Rabbi Alan Liu provides an answer to this question in a book that I come back to almost every High Holy Day season called This is Real, and You Are Completely Unprepared. He explains that one of the main purposes of prayer and meditation, and if any of you have a regular prayer and meditation practice, I will be curious to see if this rings true for you. Rabbi Liu writes in his book, there is something about the mechanics of prayer that causes us to know ourselves. Like all spiritual activities, Jewish communal prayer has a point of focus, in this case, the words of the prayer book. We try to concentrate on these words, but inevitably our mind wanders and we lose our focus. When we realize that this has happened, we bring our focus back to the words of the prayer book, and as we do, we catch a glimpse of what it is that has carried us away. This is an important thing to see. The thoughts that carry us away are never insignificant thoughts, and they never arise at random. We lose our focus precisely because these thoughts need our attention and we refuse to give it to them. Sitting there with the prayer book, we begin to become aware of the things we have been trying to avoid. We begin to see things from which we have been averting our gaze. Unconscious material begins to make its way towards the surface of our consciousness. Lou goes on to point out that during the High Holy Days, many of us will find ourselves praying more often and for much longer than we normally do. And he says that this is an opportunity, as he puts it, to see ourselves more clearly through the myriad of thoughts that arise. But if we wait to do all of this inner work until Rosh Hashanah, I think we set ourselves up to say this is too overwhelming. I think we set ourselves up to think this is just too much for 10 days. And we set ourselves up to decide, I'll push this issue, this pain, this fear, this anger, this satisfaction, you fill in the blank, aside for another year. But the problem is pushing it aside does not make it go away. Pushing it aside might hold us back during a time that offers us an opportunity for reflection and growth. A short story from a book by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, who wrote, her book is called Kitchen Table Wisdom. Dr. Remen tells a story about a man named Yitzhak, a Holocaust survivor who was diagnosed with cancer. Yitzhak decided to attend a retreat for people with cancer. The retreat was touchy-feely, literally and metaphorically, and included daily yoga and meditation. The first few days were very hard for Yitzhak. None of this was in his comfort zone. But on the fourth day, something changed for Yitzhak during the morning meditation. As he sat in the silence, he had an epiphany. He only expressed love and allowed himself to receive love from a very small circle of people. Because of what he had gone through as a child, he built a wall and lived, as Dr. Remen puts it, in a world of strangers. Because of the space and silence during the retreat, he realized that his heart was blocked, that the number of people he felt safe with was too small. And so he began to open up his heart. I imagine that for some of us, the thought of digging deep like Yitzhak feels uncomfortable at best and terrifying at worst. Perhaps we like the noise and the busyness because it allows us to avoid the things we don't want to face. It allows us to avoid asking and answering questions like, what does my life add up to right now? It allows us to avoid discovering painful truths. But the thing about Yitzhak's transformation is that he didn't have to do it alone. He was on a retreat with others who were doing this inner work right beside him. The same goes for us. We are all tasked with this work of cheshbon hanefesh. The shofar calls to every single one of us, reminding us that Elul is actually the main event, our moment to embrace this sacred and holy examination and to quiet the noise around us and tune into ourselves. I took my husband's suggestion and I decided to try swimming. The quiet, it's not so bad. The other day, Jeff and I went swimming together, side by side in different swim lanes. I was slower, except for one time. And each time he waited for me at the end of the lane before starting his next lap. I was alone in my thoughts, but we were doing something together. I hope and pray that this month of Elul will be a time of growth and reflection, a time for us to take stock of our lives before we begin a new year, knowing that as we lean into moments of quiet, we swim through these waters together. Shabbat Shalom. We rise for Aleinu on page 282.
Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula le'otzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Please be seated.
So we take some time, as we do in every service, to remember those who are no longer with us, to remember those people who never leave our minds or our hearts, no matter the time of day or the time of year. And so I'm going to read the names of those our community is remembering tonight. Minnie Abramowitz, Francis F. Abramson, Saul Alper, Roger Annenberg, Miriam C. Baller, Harry S. Burnton, Nina Birch, William B. Blacklow, Hortense N. Blatt, Isidore E. Block, Brody Bodos, Joseph Carroll, Ruth S. Cohen, Aaron Dietz, Jack L. Dersevis, Robert Deutsch, Bessie F. Ehrlich, Fred Ehrlich, Morris Fine, Yetta Fishman, Miriam Fogelman, Paul Frank, Michael Freund, Eleanor F. Friedman, Melvin Friedman, Sophia Roos Gluckstein, Sarah Goldberg, Richard D. Greenberg, Gerald D. Grosner, Abner Grover, Dora Gubin, Rose Hannenbaum, Raphael Edwin Harsfield, Lena Hartstall, Louis Hopfenmeyer, Warner R. Jacob, Gertrude Kasdan, Bernard Katz, Lee S. Kaufman, Minnie Kern, Clara W. Kearns, Stell Kornhauser, Leo Kraushaar, Warren Stephen Creedman, Al W. Lando, Herbert Lane, Benjamin Leibowitz, Francis Lux Legum, John Simmons Levitt, Barney Levy, Bertha Stern Levy, Norman Liebling, Julius Mannheimer, Francis P. Milton, Samuel D. Minster, Fedora Jonas Newfield, Lois Benjamin Pelsman, Henry Polster, Phyllis Projansky, Arthur Ramo, Cullen J. Recht, Anita O. Reiner, Arthur Riven, Lillian Rosen, N. Robert Rosenthal, Ann S. Ross, Raymond Irwin Salen, Henrietta S. Saperstein, Arthur William Scharfeld, Joseph Shenick, Basil Schiff, Joseph Schiffman, Alexander Schulman, Ida K. Seidman, Babbitt Scher, Abraham Scher, Greg A. Sherman, Harold Landsberg Singer, Isabel Sternberg, Sarah F. Sittner, Leonard Sorkin, Raymond Sterling, Ida Stone, Saul J. Taeshoff, Julian Tobias, Frida Wender, Lucille Winston, Bernard Buddy Wool, and Ida F. Zeidman. And we remember those recently laid to rest: Fred Sains, Joel Rishti, Roberta Bernstein, Beverly Rosenberg, Raymond Greenberg, Seal Fox, Thomas Nordlinger, Kenneth Lux, Stephen Burston, Vita Levy, Irving Mises, and Lois Bluestein. And we remember all of the victims of the fires in Maui, Hawaii. If I mispronounced one of these names, I really mean it. Please correct me. And feel free to share any names that weren't on our list as I look around the room.
David B. Abrams.
Thank you. Thank you. We rise for the mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye chon u'vyom echon u'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei alamaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. We can be seated.
And at this time, we now invite Lori Weiss to join us on the bima for a few announcements. You're welcome.
Wait, let me give you my microphone so that people can hear. It's attached. I know. It's attached to my hair, it's attached to my tallis, it's attached to everything.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
See, I don't think I need the microphone.
You do.
For streaming.
For streaming.
For streaming.
Oh,
For everybody.
Shabbat Shalom to those who are streaming. Thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight here in the chapel. I am Lori Wise, a member of the Temple Board. And one of the most delightful privileges that goes with serving on the board is getting to make some announcements about our community and what's happening. We have some wonderful opportunities to engage with Washington Hebrew congregation and the community in the next few weeks. Tomorrow, August 19th, at Julia Bindeman Center, we have our next hunger food packing event. We keep calling it the hunger packing event. And we're not packing hunger, we're packing food for those that are hungry. So just that small clarification. On September 8th through 10th, join us to kick off the new year with a weekend of events including Welcome Back Night Shabbat, Vintage Reflections wine tasting, and an American Slichot service on Saturday, and a religious school open house on Sunday. Last but certainly not least, high holiday tickets are now available for order. Please take a copy of this week with you and use the QR code for more information. And the QR code is inside, bottom right corner. Or you can just go to our website, which is whctemple.org, and get all the details about these events and more that I didn't have time to mention. Now here comes the best part. We don't have a lot of children here tonight, but those that are will make up for the small numbers. Every Shabbat, we increase our joy by reciting Kiddush. Sorry.
And Kaddish. But,
Well, we do recite Kaddish, but that's not the joyful part.
right,
really.
exactly.
This is a moment when we remember the miracle of the Exodus and celebrate our freedom. We invite all children who are present tonight. I'm looking at you. Come on down.
We can do below 20, and that gets 2 more up here as well.
Okay. We'll use the word very loosely. Please come forward and lead us in the Kiddush. May the vision of these young people give us strength, pride, and hope in a brighter future. And thank you for the microphone. You're welcome.
You can each have 2 if you want. So we turn to page 5, and
Here, let me move this
it is
over.
not often that, anyone can lead the Kiddush. Usually we have B'nai Mitzvah. Is there anyone who would like to come up and lead the Kiddush instead of me? Perfect. Come on up. Ready? All right, we're going to all do it together. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim ki banu bacharta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim. You can drink that one. It's just grape juice. Beautiful. And we have our challah. Mickey, you want to run over there and grab the challah?
You look like you've done this once or twice before.
All right. And we join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
Beautiful. And before we take that over to Kasha, we are going to take a moment to bless you both. And Susanna, will you help us hold the talis since you were brave enough to come up and help lead the Kiddush?
Sure.
Beautiful. Here you go.
Okay. You really came prepared, Cantor Bortnick, with a different talis than the one you're wearing.
Well, you know, you never know how many kids are going to come. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom shalom.
May God's presence be with you and grant you the most important gift, the gift of wholeness and of peace. And we say, Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. And as you all go back to your seats, Mickey, I'm going to give you the challah to take to Kasha. And it was requested after last week's service that we sing the traditional Ein Keloheinu. And, hang on, there's more to the story. And this week, when we were planning services, or maybe it was last week. I don't know. Oh, it was last week. Rabbi Schmelkin said, do you know the new version that's the old version that's new? I said, no. What's that? It's basically the old version made new.
With a little extra flavor.
So it's got a little extra flavor. So we're going to do it. It's the old version. I don't know. I think it's 323, but I'm not 100%. So the first person
This is always
to
a fun
find
game.
Ein Keloheinu, yell out the page.
Yeah.
I think it's 323.
It's 322. That was
322.
Very close.
I was so close.
You were very close.
So close.
You definitely win some award for that.
I know 321 is a Don Olam. Oh, okay. Anyway, that's beside the point. So periodically, I'm going to yell out the English because we're going to sing the English in between the Hebrew verses. It'll be clear. Right now, it's clear as mud. It will be very clear in just a minute. All right, here we go. Are we ready? Enjoy it. The old version made new.
Michael Shabbat shalom.